Hello, everyone. Back again, and I'm really excited because I'm able to finally be joined by my beautiful wife. I've been promising that this was going to happen, and I told you that this would probably be the week. And I'm really excited because she's going to add so much to what we're doing here. She's very spiritual. And what I want to do this particular session is ask her some questions and get her to tell you her story a little bit. So, my wife, Sonia Mashuda, uh, first of all, I love you. And secondly, I'm so happy that you're joining me here.
Well, I'm glad to finally be on with you. And keep getting these pop-ups on my screen. Xbox video game. Uh, okay. Um, yes, I'm glad to be here tonight. We don't really have anything as far as a topic, right? We're just really.
Well, what I want to do is basically I want to interview you. And we are doing a couple of things with this uh, video channel. And one of them is that we're discussing eclectic spirituality, panpsychism, God beyond religion. And I've been kind of telling my journey from a Christ follower to a person that is a panpsychic that is looking for God beyond religion and eclectic spirituality. But what I'm interested in the most right now is you have a lot of stories, especially from years ago when you first started college, when you left home and you were in Niagara Falls, New York. And what I'd like you to do is just kind of reminisce and tell us a little bit about the spiritual experiences that you had with Jesus and with Father God, and how, when you shared your enthusiasm, some people that you knew that were religious tried to insinuate that you couldn't possibly be communicating with God. So, tell us a little bit about Niagara Falls, and more than that, Buffalo, when you and your kiddies lived in Buffalo and you had spiritual experience after spiritual experience. How's that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say that everyone has a spiritual journey that takes them to different places, and we never reach that peak understanding of who we are and who the universe is completely. It is all a spiritual journey. And I do want to say that what I've learned is to respect people where they are in that journey and not to become critical or judgmental, because it's easy to lose sight of where I come from, and understanding those struggles with my spiritual walk, my personal relationship um, with Jesus Christ, because that's my background. That's my foundation of where I started, growing up as a PK kid, preacher's kid. So the Bible was instilled in my family at a very early age, all of us as children. So it becomes a part of you. So where your spiritual journey starts with where you are. Some things that I learned first going into church, or into religion, or into, I was born in Pentecostal. We were Baptist, Methodist. My father was then became apostolic. So there's a wide range of different denominations that sort of, what I want to say is shape your thinking about who you are, who God is in relationship to the Bible and the universe. So um, I want to say it is a hurtful journey, because it's starting out when being under my father and mother's um, church and religion, there were a lot of things I didn't understand until later. You know, I wanted to know, this God out there, was he really real? Was he really the God uh, of the universe? And it was the God of my mother, the God of my father, but he wasn't real to me. I was involved in church. I knew everything there was to say about how to clap, how to sing. I knew all the hymnals with the various denominations, but I really didn't have a personal relationship. I didn't really have that spirituality that I wanted to have. So that became my quest, if you would, especially going to college. You mentioned Buffalo, New York, at the University of Buffalo. You know, quite a culture shock from high school, Niagara Falls, going into the University of Buffalo, and it was a whole new world. Your ideas and become stretched as far as you know who you are, um, and really just learning all about science. I took an anthropology class, and I remember that being a painful experience at the university, because a lot of my views were challenged because I had to confront the Bible with science, and it just didn't mesh. It didn't figure. But what I want to talk about, and I think being on topic about spiritual abuse, there does, and I want to say this does not mean that every Christian church organization, it's not an attack on them per se, because I know a lot of loving people who genuinely, like I said, they are where they are in their own spiritual journey, who genuinely do have this love and compassion for humanity and others, and their love for God, as they know him and as they begin to know him. So I think there was a lot of challenge because once away out of that, once I got away from, like I mentioned, my mom and dad's religion, and now I'm in college on my own out of town. And I really began to seek and look for, who is God, look for God. And I had an experience where, my experience was I felt this presence. And to me, that was God, that was the Holy Spirit, because that's what I can communicate. That's what I've come to know God as. And I said, God is real, because I was able to talk to, and this is going to sound really crazy, really, but this is where I was. I was able to, first of all, communicate with my pets. I had pets, I lived alone, and I had a hamster, and I also had a cat. And that's a weird combination. You have a hamster and a cat. You would think the cat's going to eat the hamster, but they became really good friends, and I was able to communicate with them. There was this peace in my duplex, and I felt that I was one with nature and with God, everything. The trees, my outside experience. God was communicating and talking with me, and people were drawn to me because of the aura that I was exuding, because of this experience, because of this mindset that I was in. I really believed that there was something beyond what I saw, and the God of my mother and father became real to me as they knew him. So now I know him. And it wasn't until, and I did this all the time. I'd go to the park. I told you these stories many times, and I'd sit there and look up at the trees, and I felt the trees communicating, and the trees would whisper, and I would hear, and I was just completely engulfed with that presence. And it was beautiful. It's something that I couldn't even describe. This is 30 something, almost 40 years, 30 something years ago. My oldest son is 33. So it was quite, it was a while ago. This was a long time. And so it wasn't until, I had the spiritual journey, and then I came in contact with a lot of people that were religious. And they, I would talk to them about God, and I knew the Bible because of my upbringing, and I would reference these scriptures and talk about various aspects of the Bible. And they would condemn me because, first of all, you're not in a church, so you're not really saved, or you're not completely fulfilling your Christian duty because you're forsaking the fellowship, uh, uh, you know, of yourself and one another. So there was a lot of condemnation in the beginning. So one lady, I met her in the park because she felt my spirit and she was drawn to me, and she was an evangelist. She was a really nice lady, and so she said, "Well, darling, have you said the spiritual, have you said the sinner's prayer since you believe?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't think I have to, because I told her that I already knew God, and I didn't need to do the sinner's prayer." But I didn't want to be argumentative, and I was just so full of love. I said, "Okay, well, it's important to her, so let me just go ahead and say the sinner's prayer." So that began my journey into religion, because after that, everybody that I ran into wanted me to join their church. They wanted me to become indoctrinated. So, you know, that's pretty much what it was like. You haven't arrived. You are a baby Christian. You need to be protected. You need to be around people that can really mold you into who you're supposed to be. I said, well, you know what? I was born and raised in the church. I mean, I came out of my mother in the church. So not literally, but born and raised in religion was something that I already knew. So for and I was very familiar about church. So I didn't need to be told that you need to join the church. But being a young person who have just, I don't know if you want to say have just become born again, because that was my new birth into the reality that there was something beyond me, and that the God that my mother and father worshiped was real, because I didn't see it when I was younger. I mean, not really. I had spiritual experiences at an early age, but nothing like this, like seeing this magnificent power and feeling this overwhelming presence like I did. But I don't know, that's part of it. There's so much to it. I have so many stories. I don't know. What do you want to hear?
I, I know you do. I want to point out that based on what I'm studying and learning, and actually what I'm trying to teach through this channel, is that you were completely immersed in panpsychism, which is merely the fact that the universe is created by consciousness, and your consciousness, that sense of the oneness with God, the spirit of God, is, I believe, the result of you genuinely reaching out and wanting to experience God for yourself.
Mhm.
And I know that you had a lot of really special spiritual experiences, especially in the park, because when we went back to New York, you took me to all of the places. Your apartment that you had was near the zoo, and it was near a park, and it was near the university campus. And you just showed me all of the places that you had these mystical experiences. And I will say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know for a fact that you're a mystic, that in Christianity, they would call you a prophetess. You are able to communicate with the spirit, and the spirit communicates with you. And I really appreciate that because it's helped me so many times on my journey. So we're getting a feel, I think, for what your journey was, how it kind of melded with mine. And I think that we're getting to the point where we're almost out of time because I do try to keep them to about a 15-minute session. So what I'd like to do is next time, I want you to be thinking about some of the religious trauma that you experienced when you gave in, because ultimately, I think it's easier now, but back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was difficult to try to stay connected spiritually and not give in to the enormous toxic pressure, especially of evangelicalism. And so that sucked you in, and it also sucked the lifeblood out of you, and it did a lot of harm, and you had a lot of trauma, I think.
And there was a lot of healing from that as well. It took me a while to, and I don't want to go over, it took me a while to really kind of appreciate, the spiritual journey and, understand that everybody has to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, I look forward to having you be here on everyone, even when I'm talking about panpsychism or hermeticism or any of those other things. As we look into shamanism, we want to do some interviews with some very special guests in the future.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to where this is going. And again, I so appreciate, of course, I love you, but I appreciate the fact that you're joining in with me in this ministry, because it is a ministry. I don't think of it as a religious ministry per se, but it is a spiritual ministry that it's not for everyone, but for those that it resonates with, I think that it will be a real help. And what I want to say to everybody, no matter what time you're watching this, we're doing this in the evening because there's so many lights in the office here that it's tough to do it in the daytime. So we're making this video in the evening, but whenever you're watching it, if you're watching it in the morning, if you're watching it at noon, if you're watching it in the afternoon or the evening or in the middle of the night, we just want you to know that you are greatly loved by the creative source of the universe and that you are blessed. And until the next time, we'll just say, see you again. Thank you.
Bye.